we'll do the live thing first. Like, hey everybody, welcome to the Bigmark podcast. It's me, your host, Bigmark. If it's your first time listening, welcome to the podcast. I like to ask everyone who's listening, please rate the podcast, follow along, check out our Twitter and our Instagram at the Bigmark Pod, at the Bigmark Podcast. We have our Patreon. You can go support the podcast at the patreon.com/the Bigmark Podcast. And, like we said, go ask a friend or go tell a friend, and we'll double the size of the podcast overnight. Obviously it's you and me again. I just want to acknowledge all of our listeners here and around the globe. This is, I do this for you guys. I love hearing the feedback. I love, it's just been a pleasure doing all these, and I can't wait to continue to do more for you guys. Today I wanted to do a little sober October recap. So, October 2021, a little bit different than October 2020 in many different ways. Last year, obviously, it was a little bit of a different October. We kind of didn't really know what was happening. Lockdowns were just kind of starting, just kind of going on. And, it was kind of like one of the hardest times to ever choose to do a sober October. It was kind of the first time I had really taken a serious break like that from drinking and smoking weed like in a long time. And it's kind of like choosing to do that last year was just one extra stress in the myriad of stresses from last year. So when I was, again, if you haven't listened to the other Sober October podcast, I was thinking, why am I going to willingly put myself through that again? It's like I felt at certain times during Sober October no real draws towards like drinking really hard, but obviously I like to indulge in the weed, and I just felt at times, because the way I look at weed, it kind of can put a shine on the world. It's like, if you use it properly, it kind of just enhances things, kind of raises the vibration of things just a little bit. And I found not using it, everything was kind of lowered in relation. And I mean, probably eventually, that would become the new baseline. My body would just become kind of, naturally used to that. But again, I've said it before, I'll say it again. The brain's meant to be modulated, right? There's chemical processes happening in the brain at all times. Your body is synthesizing certain chemicals, and you're also getting certain chemicals from your food and other ways. And it's interesting that our society and people kind of look down on exactly where you got those chemicals from, whether they, you chose to ingest them or smoke them or inject them or whatever, versus behavioral things that trigger the brain to create certain molecules. Again, what's the difference if I choose to modulate those myself? And I mean, I don't know. I know there's a Dr. Carl Hart out there who, has been known to use like heroin, casually and things like that. And it's like, that's obviously very extreme, but at the same time, it's just highlighting the fact that, there's no bad drugs inherently bad. It's just the fact that some people abuse them. And then there's obviously drugs associated with, certain socioeconomic classes, or just like certain areas of life where you're just down, and certain drugs tend to kind of coincide with that. But again, correlation doesn't imply causation in that sense. And again, no drug is inherently bad. It's kind of like guns and all that idea too, where a gun itself is just an inanimate object. It takes a person to pull the trigger and point it at somebody or whatever for it to become a bad thing. But yeah, so again, choosing coming into this October, I was talking to my boy Darren Brooks about it too, and it was just like, it's a good time to reflect. It's a good time to kind of look at things and be like, what have I done so far? How have I been living? Obviously with the changes over the year, habits have been really hard to form. I find that obviously it takes consistency, and because of a lot of the uncertainty that was involved over the past couple years, I think it was hard for some to kind of just slough that off and keep trucking, or again, just kind of, certain indulgences, whether it be food or whatever, you kind of just go, oh man, like it's all right. Like I'm giving myself a little bit of a break. I've been stressed. And, growing up, for me anyway, I know food was really associated with a lot of really good things in life. And, again, my mom grew up in a scenario where I don't know if I want to say as far as food was scarce, but she wasn't always promised the best meals. She was fed, but it wasn't always the most lavish. My grandmother worked as many jobs as she could to kind of support the family. And I know when my mom was able to feed her kids and be successful in life, that, she wasn't going to hesitate to provide whatever she could. And so, again, food was really abundant. And again, it's a comfort thing, comfort food, right? So, I tend to kind of go for that as whether it's a reward or whatever. And it's tough. I mean, I know a lot of people were kind of raised in that same kind of idea, right? If you do this, like we can go to McDonald's after. If you do this, you can, we'll have a special treat after. And again, I don't know if it's just it's not just my Eastern European background. Obviously, it's everyone's background, but like, at least with my family, it was always like after dinner there was dessert, and it was just kind of like that's that thing, and your body becomes so adapted to that sugar craving, I guess, at the end of the day. But again, just the behavioral aspects, we talk about drugs and behavior, that behavior that I do, triggers certain chemicals in my brain to go off, and I enjoy that feeling. And there's dopamine, there's serotonin, there's all those good chemicals, and oxytocin and all that fun stuff. But it's like, how does that impact health? Obviously, at the end of the day is what you want to think, right? And I know I'm 30 years old, and guess that's relatively young when we look at the grand scheme of things. And I know there's a lot of people out there that are living way harder than I am. I was just watching this video about John Daly smoking thousands of cigarettes a year and drinking Diet Cokes, and he said he doesn't drink water. And it's like, for anyone listening, John Daly's a world famous golfer, PGA professional golfer, and the guy never drinks water. So, I get mad at myself for not drinking enough water. So everyone's living their own life. Everyone's kind of trucking along. It's amazing how adaptable the human body is, how essentially Coke and Diet Coke is like Drano, and our body can kind of deal with it. Again, that's I guess what makes life so hard too, right? Is that you can have people like John Daly who smokes cigarettes and drinks Coke and is living into their late 60s, at least 70s now, I think. And, you have some people that run and do marathons and stuff and have heart attacks in their 30s. So it's like, you never know when your time's going to come. So it's time to live, you know what I mean? And maybe that's kind of been some of my motto and things like that. And, I know things are fleeting, and I understand, that part, and, I want to enjoy life, and I don't like subscribing to like the idea of complete depravity. But at the same time, it's like, again, what does this effect have on my body? And I'm a big guy, and it's like, you don't really see too many really tall big guys like late in life too, right? And it's like, I think, you kind of look at it like big dog breeds, right? Don't get me wrong, there's less of us around, but again, I just want to take care of the old bod. My shoulder's a piece of shit, and I want to make sure that eventually, when that has to be dealt with, I'm ready. I got this fucking hernia, I think. Well, I know, but I got to get that dealt with, and I know you got to lose some weight for that. So again, all these things, come into play, and, thinking and getting into doing this year's Sober October, I kind of wanted to kickstart things and just kind of get back into a better routine, and, get back in the yoga studio and more meditation and more breath work. And of course, be loyal to you guys, and want to bring you guys along, and continue to spread knowledge and empowerment through the community. You know what I mean? So, it was a good month. I'm not, obviously, as you can tell, I'm not 100% happy with it. I wish I put a little bit more into it. You can go check out our Instagram at the Bigmark podcast. You can check out on our story highlights. I got every day. I did something for the month. A lot of it was breath work and meditation. I got a lot of workouts in. I went over to De La Soul a couple times, which was tremendous. Great studio over there. Shout out Katie McClellan over there. She's doing a great job. Sorry about their watered down location. We love you. All the best. We hope things continue on, and we'll see you at York Street. But again, it's like, I've said it before. I want to do this stuff, and I want to talk to everyone who's listening and everyone who's watching, and I want to say, hey, you know what? I'm doing this. I want to be there for you, because I want you guys to join along. I want you guys to be a part of this too. And it's this thing that I want to make it bigger than me, and it keeps me accountable. It keeps me doing my thing, and that's what I want to be here for. And as things go on with this podcast, and we keep doing these, I want to continue to keep bringing you guys good news and doing all that great stuff. Again, at the end of the day, things happen, stresses happen, things at work have been wild. We've been doing new stuff, dealing with again, I was talking today, I was thinking in my head, I hate office politics. And there's all this shit, intertwined with work, and, at being at a small brewery too, everyone's really close. It's small, but at the same time, we kind of have a corporate feel. So it's like, you don't want to necessarily step on anyone's toes or do anything, because obviously you have to have structure and things like that. But again, being so small, people kind of, I guess, not necessarily push boundaries, but some of those boundaries are kind of blurred as far as what people's roles are and people's responsibilities and things getting done, right? So again, it's interesting with personalities and things like that, and it's sometimes hard dealing with people that are extremely negative. I consider myself a really positive person, sometimes overly positive when it comes to certain things. And again, being around someone who's kind of constantly negative tends to kind of bring down the vibe. Obviously, clearly, duh, whatever. But it's interesting when people don't necessarily realize, social cues in that sense or anything. I mean, I feel like I'm pretty sensitive to certain cues. Obviously, I definitely miss things from time to time. I'm not perfect. No one's perfect. But again, you think that, and there's certain anxieties I think that come into play too, right? There's nervousness in front of other people, and I think it manifests itself in different ways. And I think sometimes, people who are negative or that come across as negative tend to be that way because it's somewhat of a defense mechanism. So, again, you kind of wonder. It's like, do you have complete ultimate control of some of the words that you're saying, right? It's like, I don't know. Certain people come from different avenues in life as well, of course, obviously. I mean, it's funny at a brewery, you have some people there, especially in production, who have gone to school and, they are trained, and that's exactly what they want to do. And they're exactly in an environment that they want to be in, making beer, having a great time. Then you have kind of bartenders, which tend to be, at least at our brewery, you have bartenders and retail staff that tend to kind of be a little bit more temporary, if you want to say it that way. But, university kids coming through, people, either side job, part-time job, other job, stepping stone, something. Again, it's not necessarily a career gig. And then you also have people like up in the office or in the sales team like myself, who, it's a good job. It's a good career kind of thing. And it's busy and there's lots to do and it's lots of responsibility. Again, like I said, being a smaller company. But again, sometimes people come in from different avenues. And I think that certain aspects tend to clash. I know certain aspects of life or certain jobs tend to have different attitudes towards things, especially when it comes to sales. Again, I've mentioned before, I never really wanted to be a sales guy, fucking period. I never really wanted, because of that sleazy, greasiness that's attached to it. There's a detachment there that I find with some salesmen, not all salesmen, but sometimes there's this detachment there that I just find so off-putting. It's greasy. I don't actually, when I say, hey, how you doing? I don't actually care how you doing. I just want to ease you. I just want to, lower your guard so I can try and sell you something. I actually care about people. I want people to feel happy. I want people to feel at home. And it's tough because there's just that salesman aspect attached to it. And even with the best of intentions, sometimes things come across in the wrong way, right? Because it's just, there's this giant field out there of all these other guys that are just creating this name for salespeople. So anyway, I always wanted to create more of a friendship-based, relationship-based sales approach. So that obviously, it comes with a very positive attitude, and that's who I am, and I go by, my nickname at work is the Friendly Giant, and that's who I am. And I truly live up to that, and it's tough when other people aren't necessarily on that same level and creating that. So it's been a really big frustration, and I'm sorry to lay it on you guys listening, but again, it's interesting in life where we come into these challenges, and it's like, how do you meet it right with still staying true to what I mean about being positive and being loving and doing and leading with love and caring and doing things in that positive aspect without feeling overwhelmed or underprepared or taken advantage of or anything like that. I remember even issues with the band. There were times where we had issues with our lead singer, and there were many angles we could have approached, at least even just communicating the issue. And some of my bandmates, kind of were trying to lean towards more of an aggressive, angry approach. And I always tried to, again, lead with love and compassion. And it tends to seem, it can seem like it's soft, and it can seem like it's not really doing anything. But again, you have to have patience, and you have to understand that I'm trying to find a win-win. It's hard to find a win-win, but I don't want ever there to be a situation where I gain and you lose. And that's tough, because in life, that happens, where sometimes you got to take what's yours and someone's going to lose. But in life, things can tend to kind of shake out in the wash. Things kind of always find a way, and whether that's karma or whether that's something else, the balance, things always balance out. And I think about that a lot. When I'm trying to do things in life and I'm trying to treat people the way I think I should treat people and hope they treat me the same. And that's a whole other ball game, because, it's hard to kind of hope that everyone's just going to treat you the way you want to be treated, especially when, again, that more positive aspect tends to seem to be soft and kind of that pushover thing. My biggest fear is that my, kindness will be confused as weakness. And I think a lot of people feel that way, and it's not right. And, a lot of people, especially nowadays, are looking for that instant gratification. Like I said, the positive aspect, you have to have patience with it. It's the most important thing. Positive mental attitude also comes with patience. And, it's kind of sometimes feels like you're kind of beating your head against a rock, but eventually that rock's going to crack and you're going to get through it. You know what I'm saying? But, again, kind of moving forward through all this stuff, I thought to myself, I wanted to kind of kickstart a new regime, a new habit, a new everything. And I just couldn't really find that perfect consistency. Again, I was getting posts out there. I was getting things down. Again, a lot of it was mostly meditation. A lot of those days. But, even the breath work and stuff, I couldn't really find myself getting into a perfect habit. And I find too, not to harp on work again, it can be very variable at work, which is fun. I love it, and I wouldn't have it any other way, because I like that novelty. But that tends to kind of throw things off for me a little bit as far as consistency or just sticking to habits is concerned, right? So I think that's going to come from me kind of like really laying things out and really, really kind of putting things on the table and being like, all right, this is what I'm going to do, and this is what I'm going to continue to do. Maybe it takes, putting reminders on my phone, or maybe I got to get some kind of book. Again, I'm kind of one of those guys. It's funny. When I was in school, I'd look around at all the kids, and let's say it's a class of 100. I swear to God, 99 kids have a laptop. I mean, I swear, like, basically everyone had a laptop if they were taking notes. If not, they were just fucking sitting there chilling. There had to be other kids, but I swear I was the only one who actually like brought like a notebook and like wrote my notes. And I find, like, again, I still do this today, that when I write things, it really sticks better in my head. Like, if I can actually read it or see it or write it. I don't know exactly what that means about my learning style, but I like to actually see it and, like, tactilely write it out. I can do little notations. I can do all kinds of shit. And maybe that's what it's going to have to take for me to kind of write things out. And again, it's funny, to bring up another work reference. We've been doing this whole thing with setting goals and doing stuff for work and everything. And the biggest thing with goal setting, the hardest thing that I feel like everyone kind of deals with, is making an attainable goal. I think everyone tries to shoot for the moon, and sometimes we can't achieve that goal, and then we get fucking bummed out because we didn't achieve it. So then we feel like extra losers, and then we just give up on the whole fucking thing. And when I was personal training, that was the same idea. People always expected these like instant results, but nature and your body and life doesn't necessarily move that fast. And we live in this culture of instant gratification, and I think again, I'm clearly suffering it from right now, because I tried for fucking 1 month, and I'm pissed that I couldn't really do it, even though I did a bunch of workouts. I fucking busted my ass. I did a bunch of stuff that I should be proud of. But again, that's my mentality, is that I just want to keep getting better. I just want to keep doing things. I just want to keep pushing that. I want to keep getting better. I want to keep staying consistent. And yeah, and that's why I'm here today too. That's why I'm doing these podcasts. I love you guys, and sometimes fucking days fucking wild, and it's long, and it's shitty, and there's lots of ups and downs, and it's good, and it's bad, and it's fun, and it's raining, and it's sunny, and all the different things that happens in life. And it's all about that fucking different just experience in life. I think we can kind of go through things, and the days just start fucking piling up. One of my favorite Pink Floyd songs is Time, right? Ticking away the moments that make up a dull day, right? Fritter and waste the hours in an offhand way. The sun is the same in a relative way, but you're older, racing around for it to come up behind you again. Those are some of those lyrics. And another part where it's every year is getting shorter, never seem to find the time, plans that either come to naught or half the page is scribbled line, hanging on in quiet desperation is the English way, is a beautiful line. I mean, it's poetic almost, right? Again, I think even that part of the line where, and then one day you'll find 10 years have got behind you. No one told you when to run. You missed the starting gun. It talks about life where, you're young and there's time to kill today, right? And, don't worry, don't rush, don't jump into anything. You got lots of time. You're young. And again, like the song says, then all of a sudden 10 years are gone and you're like, what the fuck? So, maybe I look back at my 20-year-old self and I'd play that fucking song from right now and be like, this shit is fucking correct. So watch the shit and, take the time to observe the present and enjoy it and be in it, but understand that, what you put in now will later, come, hopefully the plan will carry out. But again, that patience is key. You got to be patient. You got to be positive. You got to keep plugging away, and nothing's going to happen overnight. We're going into the winter months where, shit gets fucking cold. The days get shorter. People get more bummed out. So it's important, right, to keep, this is where we can establish these habits, because maybe we're not doing so much. Maybe things do get a little bit more regimented just because of the weather change and how things are different. I mean, it was fucking like 15 degrees today, and so say what you will about that. But, you know, as things do get colder and whatever, and we enter into winter months, shit, you know, this is the time to fucking grind and to fucking grow your hair and grow a beard. I mean, I remember one of my football coaches once said, you know, sometimes you just gotta fucking grow a beard and get in the gym, brother. And that's what it's all about. You know what I mean? It's about getting out there. It's about grinding and keeping your head down, making a goal, an achievable goal, an attainable goal, something that you can get to, something you can track, and something that you can be accountable to, and trying to get there. And like I said, you know, I'm trying to get back on that track where, you know, once a week I'm doing something. Shout out my brother Scott Mallon, who used to be on who's come on the podcast before. He'll come on the podcast again. Him and I are going to be playing on a men's league team together, which is super sick. So that'd be great, doing some great cardio and fucking playing a little basketball, having a little friendly competition once a week. You know, got to take care of myself there, make sure all my joints are fucking good. So that's something to fucking work towards. Shit, man. Like, you know, it's funny in my head, you know, growing up as an athlete, I should say, you know, I always had that sport, whatever I was doing, in the back of my head. Hey, you know, maybe I shouldn't eat that fucking extra cheeseburger, or maybe I should get in the gym today, because I was never really like, oh, my opponent is out there doing shit. I was more like, I got to get in the gym because I know I will be better if I'm working out, if I'm preparing my body, if I'm doing all that prep work, right? So anyway, again, something great to look forward to. But again, just health in general, you know, moving forward, continuing on in life, that I'm going to have a good setup that works for me, and that's going to keep me, you know, getting healthier as life goes on. And, you know, hopefully medical science, by the time I'm really old, is going to catch up, and I'll just be able to get fucking bionic limbs and all that fucking cool stuff. I'll be a fucking super soldier by the end of it. But, yeah, you know what? That's what we got to do. And, you know, thanks for listening, and thanks for letting me rant today and get some of my thoughts off my chest. You know, I love you guys. I love you. Thank you so much for listening. You know, all of our new listeners, again, please subscribe, hit the bell so you get all the notifications when we drop a video on YouTube. Again, rate the podcast if you can. Tell your friends, please. Check out our Twitter and our Instagram at the Bigmark Pod, at the Bigmark Podcast. So you can, you know, drop us a line there if you want to tell us anything about the podcast, or give us some ideas for some new topics. I love all you guys. Again, thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next week. Peace.